This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Starting to get more messages and comments about this printer of mine, so I thought I would go ahead and make a dedicated video on what printer I have, how I use it, how I got the printer and kind of brought it back from the dead, and just in general why I think most photographers would really benefit if they were printing regularly. I actually got this printer from my friend Matt Seal. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you've probably seen him in a video or two, but he hit me up about a year ago and said that he had this Pro-1000 that was sitting in his garage for a year or two, and he was moving and he needed to get rid of it, and he didn't want to charge me for it because he didn't even know if it still worked, and he knew that just to test it and get everything filled up with ink and, running again, it was going to be at least $700 just to kind of take that gamble, and it hadn't been assessed by anybody. It was not properly maintained. So Matt, being a friend, he was like, you can try it out if you want it, you can have it. If it works, there you go, you got a great deal, and just repay the favor somehow. That's what friends do. So I took that bet, I got the printer, and it sat basically untouched for about 4 months. There was a lot going on last year when I got this printer, so it sat unused for a while even at my own house, but earlier this year I finally decided to dust it off, literally, and get all of the ink and maintenance cartridge and all that stuff ordered and get to work. It took a lot of test printing, a lot of cleaning cycles, basically aligning and cleaning every possible thing that you can do on this printer. I ran it through a lot of those right off the bat, and just kept making prints and looking for, little differences, little improvements here and there. My only experience working with a printer like this was just from my own self-experience from the Pro-10 that I had years ago. So as far as like all of the diagnostics and knowing what to look for, I'm kind of going in blind here and just trusting Google and YouTube to guide me along the way. Pretty much anytime I have a question, my first place I look is Jose Rodriguez's YouTube channel. I'll put a link down below. This guy's got so many videos on printing and all different kinds of printers and paper and all sorts of stuff. Knows way more about it than I do. I started making a lot of 4x6 prints with this Ilford gallery paper. This is an RC paper. It's their smooth pearl finish. It's just a good, reliable paper to use. I found I have it also in the 8.5 by 11. In terms of just for the price and the size and the overall look and finish of that paper, I really loved the Ilford pearl finish in their darkroom paper, so to have a similar kind of feel in their inkjet paper is really nice. First thing I did was make a bunch of 4x6 prints of my current projects that I'd be working on, and I would just have them on these magnet boards in front of me. If you're interested in where I got these boards, I'll put links down below as well. Being able to scatter all of the prints out on the wall and seeing everything all at a glance rather than just going from picture to picture, it helps me a lot, especially if I'm thinking about something that's in the end going to be a physical thing like a book or a zine or any kind of publication, even just a print. Being able to have it in front of you and not just on the screen, you're going to start looking at everything very differently. You're going to be seeing it not only next to other pictures, but you're also going to be seeing it at different sizes, and that itself is going to change how you interact with the photo or just the impact of the photo. And using the printer for something like this is overkill. I mean, you can do this sort of thing with just your basic copy paper and whatever printer you might have at home or at the library. Making these prints, I don't need to see every fine detail and make sure the print looks really, really great. I have the printer, so I'm just taking advantage of that, but don't feel like you have to have a nice photo printer before you can start doing this, because this is the kind of stuff that anybody can do at really any price point, and it's like seriously helpful things that you can do as a photographer rather than just looking at someone else's work or looking at gear that you think might help. Actually looking at your own stuff and working with it and getting your hands in the process, you're going to learn a lot more just by doing that rather than thinking it up. Now, having said all that, you don't need a fancy printer to do stuff like that, but if you want to make prints that look good and actually have nice quality, if you want to sell those prints, this printer does a good job at that too. I've been very, very happy with the prints I've been getting out of this thing, and making sure I use the ICC profiles required, that goes a long way as well. So if you don't know what that is, check with the paper that you're using. There's likely going to be an ICC profile available, so that way your computer and your printer, everything is communicating, it knows exactly what you're using. You're going to get the best results that way. And also make sure your monitor is properly calibrated as well. Don't just go in blind and hope for the best. calibrate your monitor, that also goes a long way. Now this is a big printer, it's a big investment. I got kind of lucky on mine, but these printers, they're big, they're pricey, it costs a lot of money to fill them with ink. The paper itself, you're going to go through a lot of paper because you're going to be making a lot of test prints and things are going to go wrong. It's not going to look right. You're going to need to make adjustments. But if you do want a photo printer, I do really enjoy the Canon printers. I have the Pro-1000. I had the Pro-10 years ago, and I also really enjoyed that printer. The Pro-100, I feel like that's the most popular sort of entry level. I feel like that one is often on sale as well. So if you're in the market for a printer and you want to get started, there are different options out there. This isn't like the entry level or anything. High quality prints, low quality prints, doing it yourself, having some print lab do it and sending them to you. It doesn't matter how you're doing it. Just getting physical pictures out there in the real world and in front of you. Even if it's not about your work and your art and you're just trying to make pictures for a document like we've talked about forever on this channel, document your life. Having these physical pictures, it's a document, it's a record of your life. And I don't typically like to sit around and look through hard drives. I kind of dread it, to be honest with you, but I never get tired of looking through a box of prints. And one other interesting note I thought it would be worth mentioning just because it's been on my mind. Using this printer, printing things, both film scans and digital files, looks great either way, but I have found an interesting thing about printing digital files for myself personally. This is going to be totally subjective and on myself, so it's probably not going to be everyone's use case, but I found myself printing more often and more regularly, almost ritualistic, with digital files than I would be with my film scans. And I didn't know why at first, and I think it has a lot to do with my OCD of that archival aspect of film. Knowing I have the negative, I'm a little less sweating, like I gotta print it now, it's like, I'll get to it eventually. Whereas with a digital file, even though I'm backing up my files and making sure everything is protected, there's still a part of me that's like, I gotta be able to make sure it's accessible just with nothing but my eyes. And it's, with film scans and film in general, I'm not shooting slides. I'm gonna need to work with that negative in order to make a positive, even if I have that physical thing in front of me. Just an interesting note though. I thought that was interesting that I have found myself printing just more regularly with the digital camera stuff, so just thought it would be interesting and worth sharing. If you have any questions at all about this printer, the process, anything we've talked about today or otherwise, just let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to keep the conversation going. Huge shout out to our sponsor, Squarespace, for sponsoring this video. Pretty soon, you'll be able to go to mattdayphoto.com and order some prints from this very machine here. So that's all thanks to Squarespace. When I launched mattdayphoto.com almost a decade ago, I did that with Squarespace. This was years before they ever sponsored my YouTube channel. I chose Squarespace because they truly are the best all-in-one place to build a website. It was a no-brainer because back then they had everything I needed, and nowadays they continue to add new features all of the time, and everything is still extremely easy to use and user-friendly. Of course, if you need some assistance with anything, they're always there to help. Squarespace has 24/7 award-winning customer service. If you want a place to show off your work or run an online store selling digital or physical products, you can send out an email newsletter, run your blog. Everything you possibly need is built right here into this one service. We're always scattering things all over social media and different platforms. Give everything a home at Squarespace. You can sign up for Squarespace for free at squarespace.com, but when you're ready to sign up, go to squarespace.com/mattday. That'll get you 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you all, as always, for watching. Again, if you're interested in a print, keep an eye out. They will be available very soon, as well as other things. But that's all for today. Thank you all so much for watching. I love you very much. I'll see you guys soon.